I shared it on WhatsApp, na? Even I emailed you with the this thing.
Yeah, I saw the message, and even I think Aarti was also asking, so she also saw the message.
Okay, great. I believe yes, there was a bit of confusion on Saturday, Sunday kind of thing, right?
Yeah, maybe. Or else I don't mind, we can continue with tomorrow, as this being a flexi day. I don't mind, we can have tomorrow, because if they are coming tomorrow, then
Let's
we
do one
don't.
thing. Let's do a quick recap. It will take around 10-15 minutes. And
Yeah,
if anybody doesn't join, then we'll basically can go ahead, right? How
yeah,
does?
yeah.
Okay, great. Chilling. So let's go from the start. Basically, any confusion here? Like how the BA should basically start working is like to get oriented, get aligned with the overall organizational gamut of technologies, environment, policies, and then basically start discovering the primary business objective. Achha, somebody is joined, I believe. Let me check out. Okay, Cameron is here. He is joining, I believe. Yes. Hi, Cameron. Good evening. Hi, Cameron. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah. We'll just basically having a quick recap.
Sure.
Sure. Okay, great. So get acquainted with the environment. Basically, try to understand the requirement, because requirement understanding is most critical task for a typical BA. Try to understand the requirement. Try to categorize it. Try to build a plan, right? How the requirements and the actual scenario on ground looks like to you. Build this plan. Elicit the requirement. Define the requirement. Go in depth. Even modify the plan again, because the agility we talked about. Agility is basically being flexible with the overall growth of the requirement, flexible in terms of requirement. So we need to really revisit those overall defined or detailed requirement scope at least once a week, so that we are in tune with whatever changes have been embedded in the requirement scope. So we need to understand those things, and then basically help the business basically support the technical implementation as well. After building your requirement, after presenting it in a detailed way to the project team, then help them building the technical implementation, right? Or help them support the technical implementation, help the overall business implement after support technical implementation. Is basically these guys are talking about supporting the testing methodologies, build test cases, review test cases, so that whatever test and reports will come, they'll be in conformance with the requirement, because the satisfaction as the PM book or BA book really perceives it as the satisfaction of the client. And whenever whatever requirement you had, if the solution complies with the requirement, it'll be the achieving towards the great satisfaction, and that's what we are looking for. So we need to actually help the business to implement the solution as well, and then assess the overall creative value, understand the satisfaction of it, and that's all the overall closure for a BA, for a typical execution, right? The requirement can come from a stakeholder or a project requirement document or a PM, and then we elicit the requirement. We really grow with the requirement. We understand and detail the requirement, right? This process is understood, right? No confusion here?
Yes.
Okay, great. Great. Swati is also here. Hi Swati, good evening. Hi Swati, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Let's get started then. We were just having overall recap for the whole trainings in few minutes, because we were basically delayed in attendance, so that's why. So I believe everybody understand this slide. This is a kind of overall life cycle of a BA.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead. We also defined the business analysis as a process It's a practice of enabling change in an enterprise by defining needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders. So we are basically trying to understand here BA or business analysis is a process of improving organization also. It is a process of part and parcel of overall each project, product or support, but it's also a process of enabling change in an enterprise also. That's how the BA book perceives it, and it's really evolved definition. Okay, I believe you understood this. So whenever an interview asks you what is BA, what's BA role, so this is the definition you do, tell them, right? And it's basically, there are tools and initiatives, policies, and other strategic, tactical, operational, business analysis can be performed within the driven boundaries. We had a look at it, what type of roles, normal BA plays throughout the, life cycle. We have business architect, system analyst, data analyst, enterprise analyst, then management consultant, process analyst, product manager, product owner, requirements engineer, system analyst, and many more as well. Okay, and we understood this process overall, how the requirement, stakeholder requirements, solution requirement, transition requirement, and how we progress the requirements. This is basically a requirement life cycle, how we evolve the requirements and build a better requirement elicitation. Okay, we've understood the overall agenda.
Can I ask? Basically, there's a little thing that I wanted to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we are actually talking about requirements, which is something we are directly related to. So my impression about the requirement is obviously what exactly business want, what kind of changes business want. So in terms of requirements, from the perspective of business, I'm most of the time perceiving the functional requirements. Do you mind basically elaborating if there are any other kind of requirements that a business analyst has to be to make sure that he is oriented towards?
There are functional and there are non-functional as well.
Okay, so non-functional requirements include what? Which kind of requirements are there?
Okay, let's take as in you are from IT, I'll give an example of IT basically. See, BA is defining a website, right?
Okay.
And in a typical, let's say, payment scenario, you need to acknowledge the overall, the acknowledgement has to be processed for a user's end within seconds.
Okay.
That's a non-functional but performance requirement.
Okay.
Right? Okay. We'll have a look at the types of requirement in detail when we study FRS and SRS. It's a part of today's plan. So just hold on for a few minutes. Okay.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead. So this is right. We've seen this thing, how BA actually works, how it can be progressed overall. Then we understood the overall business analysis, a typical progress philosophically. Then we understand the overall how business analyst supports the overall gamut of roles throughout the organization. We've gone overall actually understanding how BA relates to other roles, specifically whom he is working with on day in day out. Like BA, we normally closely work with project management and project owners, and how the overlapping of responsibility happens day in day out. We had a look at how the different type of analysis we perform in a typical day. Then I was supposed to start from this. So we understood the overall process of business analysis, right? So we are talking about something like plan, define scope, elicit requirement, detail requirement, approve requirement, validate the requirement, analyze the requirement for priorities and scenario, and then document requirements, right? Now, as we discussed in last time, we had a look at requirement life cycle. We had a look at the ways of requirement gathering. We'll also look at the tools today. We require the overall requirement elicitation processes, and this is the overall business analysis process, input output type of partygram. So we are looking out. We are talking about needs, requirements. We are talking about overall performance objective. Just to add to your answer, see, even BA book also defines the performance objective separately than the requirement. So these are non-functional requirements they want to really emphasize, because these are important. In late means before 2000 in last century we had quite a good amount of failures in projects due to performance requirements going haywire. So we specifically inserted this thing in PMI, and that's how it's perforated to overall BA's responsibility as well to understand the performance and non-performance objective, which can't be functional requirement. So we have a special block here, right? So try to understand the importance here. So we get the requirement and we get the overall performance parameter. Let's talk in plain simple English. I believe you can understand these two, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sheetal, Swati, do you understand this? The needs and overall performance objectives?
Yeah, yes, yes.
Okay, great. Now the task which we perform, there are 5 tasks clearly mentions. We plan the business analyst approach, we plan the stakeholder engagement, whom to talk, whom to discuss, how to get the detailed requirements, how to go to the nth level and build these requirements, how to approve requirement. So normally we talk and engage with stakeholders within organizations, or for that matter we can go to user and use some survey techniques or interviewing techniques as well. Okay, that's that. And then we plan the overall analysis governance, how to govern the process, how to basically monitor and control the business analysis process so that we are on top of business analysis, and how to report progress if the organizational policy needs makes it as a requirement required agenda, right? So that's also part of the overall business analysis governance. Then plan business analysis information management, like I told you, the reporting if is required. Otherwise there could be something, a web page which needs to be updated. If you're using something like Microsoft Project Central or some distributed cloud-based project management tool, then you might need to update a web page with this overall detailed progress of how your business analysis has been updated, evolved, how it's progressed. So that's that. And then identify business analysis performance improvement. If we can improve the overall BA processes, that's also task of a BA for given executions. That's how BA book really look into overall the BA task day in day out. I believe we are clear with tasks, right? So whenever somebody asks you what are the BA objectives, these are the BA objectives what we are talking about. What BA does day in day out, these are the 5 entities we do as a day in day out. I believe everybody can understand these parameters or the overall task which BA book have mentioned. Any confusion here?
I'm sorry. Can I get the screen? Yeah. So this says the planning the business analysis approach. That looks like that there has to be when you plan it, you have to find out what approach you'll be using it. So would you mind telling us what does that exactly mean? Can there possibly various approaches?
Yeah. Could you see these things? Brainstorming, document analysis, focus group, SME. We've discussed about this, right? Okay. So these are the ways and means how we can achieve this, business analysis approach. You need to choose. It can be one, it can be many.
Nice, okay. Nice. And what about the governance? Governance
is monitoring your own activity, because Agile really make it as a requirement and they want to go it in writing. Like whatever you do, even if you being flexible, it's not like, okay, today I am cooking tea, next time I am cooking coffee, next time I have decided to have hot water. No, there has to be discipline in the process. So if you're doing tea, do tea. Add cardamom, add sugar, add lemongrass, add ginger, whatever you want. But the process has to be notified to everybody, and it has to be monitored and controlled. Okay. That's the overall agile approach we're talking about. Okay. We'll come in detail about the tools and management, how we do it. We'll see that thing as and when comes. Okay, but you need to understand the overall gist of this statement. Like if someone asks you what BA does, these are the 5 elements you should present to them. Okay.
Yes, sure.
I'll be okay with this.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just request if you give some examples when you come up with these scenarios.
Definitely. See, we talk about order management, right? Or we talked about even that time flexibility type of thing. So you need to approach, like you need to first choose between whatever different requirement gathering techniques you have. Then you need to understand which are the stakeholders you're going to talk to. You can talk to CIO if he came with the requirement. You can talk to the PM if he came with his requirement, and so on. So you need to really plan and build a stakeholder engagement like a schedule. See, something like if I'm going to interview CIO, so I'll plan it ahead. I'll email him also. I'll ask him if he wants to include somebody else like project manager or any functional testers as well, because the next step of requirement is building a test plan, right? If you look at the agile, we'll have a look at agile as well. So there you need to really understand who to talk to, how to govern, how to monitor it, how to manage the information. Means whatever result you are getting, you need to manage them, and then you need to understand the performance. Am I in track with whatever plan I made? Is it I'm going haywire, or do I need to change my strategy because some information might not come to you? So those things. So all the BA's activities are revolve around these 5, right? And this is really called an analyzer. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Does that also include team recruiting or team selections also?
Normally, okay, if you are a leader in BSc, there are organizations, might be something like KPMG or big process improvement, or big what you can say, how do you label these companies? Means they do data representation day in day out. So right, so these companies they have a team of BA. So if you look at let's say Goldman and Sachs, right? They have a team of BAs. Means in the numbers of around hundreds, and so they have a BA lead, they have a BA project lead, they have a BA manager by itself. So there you have a really big team and hierarchy there. So if you are on a leading BA's team, then you need to really monitor their performance as well, right? And then the task for them, you need to really understand how to distribute tasks, how to track those tasks. That's what the governance. That's why they have this entity within BA processes. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead. Okay, so I'll go to output now. What are the outputs you normally do? Okay, so what are the outputs are expected out of could you please mute? Yeah, thank you. So here we're looking for 5 different outputs from a BA. This is a typical scenario. There could be 10 documents, there could be 2 documents. It depends on the business and the policies of the organization you are working for, right? So there could be 5 documents in standard, or there could be 2 documents. So don't get fooled by number of documents coming out of a BA, or number of documents expected out of BA from the reportees or from the organizational policies, right? So let's try to understand the entities or the data which is required by the organizations when a BA is overall working in a given scenario. So we have business analysis approach. Some of the policies need this whatever approach or plan you made for yourself in the BA execution needs to be published to all the stakeholders, right? And then stakeholder engagement approach, you need to decide and make it written document, like okay, I need to interview CIO, I need to interview PM, I need to interview these clients, and this is the method I'm going to interview them. It can be a survey, it can be a direct interview. I can do a brainstorming session, I can have a scrum meeting, inclusion of these guys. So I need to inform in advance, I need to build those documents or entity somewhere and distribute with the required people, right? Those things. And then governance approach, how are you going to govern it? Do we have a project central experience? Do we have a any experience with project management, as in how to monitor, how to distribute, how to build those tasks and monitor those tasks? We'll see that thing in project management in detail, but we'll have a couple of tools in BA as well to understand how to govern approach. And then we have information management. So whatever information you are generating, whatever qualified requirement you do, how to how you qualified that, and how you see that's get approved by the reporting authority, or whoever stakeholder is in charge of approving those requirements. Those things, those approach typically. So we need to have those documented somewhere. And overall, how the business analysis performance and its assessment, when it will finish, you need to give a schedule, you need to distribute a schedule, you need to keep it in writing somewhere. It can be a website, it can be a Word document, it can be an Excel sheet, but there are some tools also available. We'll see to them as well, right? So have you understood these entities? So there are 2, needs and performance. Then there are 5. There are 5 in task, and there are 5 as an output. This is kind of Bible. So whenever you going to interview for a BA role, you should keep this 2, 5 and 5 with you, so that whenever somebody asks, you can clearly give these titles. These are really evolved titles or evolved entities. So whenever somebody asks you what BA does, you can really grasp within seconds, right? Everybody understood these 5 entities? Any question, confusion?
No, that's totally fine.
Great, it's simple, right? No difficulties here. How about
No,
Sheetal? Yeah, go ahead.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay,
good.
Swati.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, great. So this is really crucial. Now we'll go in depth, like how things moves. So we have inputs. So if needs are basically requirements. We are building approach. So what are the tools available, guidelines available are given. If you had a look at that PMO document, you can clearly understand what are the different tools and guidelines they've given there, and they've given really in detail. Right? They have a good chapter on business analysis approach, right? So how to plan that, how to build those approach, what are the tools available, and we're going to learn some of the tools. We'll start from today, and we'll basically understand how to implement these things, right? So we are going to go in detail one by one. I'll move ahead to basically detailing approach. There are some predictive and adaptive approach also. Normally, as an employee, we use adaptive approach most of the time, but there are certain what you can say scenario where you need to use predictive approach as well. We'll say this whenever we go to the live, wherever we go to the project part of it or work, workshop of BA, we'll understand in detail. So I'll just read it right now to understand. So predictive is basically defined before implementation to maximize control and minimize risk. This is basically a kind of waterfall technique, but now we work in agility. So we have iteration. So we have defined iteration to arrive at the best solutions to improve an existing solution, right? So adaptive is agility, predictive is waterfall or the previous method of project management. Let's not spend too much time on this, because nowadays we normally go with adaptive than predictive. So this difference normally is basically on experience rather than on in theory. But yes, as a BA, we should understand what is predictive, what is adaptive. So we normally choose an informal flexibility. So activities are divided into iterations and deliverables, and tasks performed iteratively. So if I have done interviews, doesn't mean that I have finished the interview, I won't go for an interview. No, I can take an interview again if the requirements elicitation is falling short, or if the new requirements come. If CIO sends a mail, I want to build an HR system, and then he sends a mail, I also want to have overall bill of material. So I need to go to him again and understand how the project scope has been expanded, how the next what you can say bill of materials has to be integrated, has to be built, and how the requirements keep us with it as an activity disintegration, number of activities to be performed requirement.
I have a basically question here. Like changes like these ones, which seems like it's a big change, like somebody is asking for adding a new functional requirement, like completely adding a bill of material or something.
Right.
So this is basically, is it not required to have a project change request to be submitted, and then
yes,
is it not?
There are process. The processes will be there, but as an agile expert, as an agile BA, you need to understand you have to be ready, right? Because that's how we do.
So whatever changes due to these changes, of course, there will be a change in the timeline. There may be a change in the resource. There may be change in the budgets. So who is going to do the assessment for all these changes? Is it BA?
Yeah, BA with PM. Yeah. See, okay, BA with PM. Cost budgeting is PM's responsibility, right? Because he allocates the cost, he allocates the resource, and he's going to get it approved.
Okay.
You have to just present your plan, like business analysis. You are doing the analysis, right? Philosophical terms also, right? And having this, like, we should understand where we stand as of today. So we use adaptive, not predictive. That's what I'm trying to say. Just not going into the words right now. You'll understand this thing in detail whenever you do workshop. Okay?
Okay, sure.
Let me move ahead.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, yeah, this is really great slide. Means I was just looking, and movies that shows the power of business analytics. Just note down these things, and basically I'll share at the end of the presentation also. Try to I'll paste this thing in the chat box also, so that you can have a look at that. So that you can have a look at these movies, or if anybody have seen any movie, any of these movies.
This Beautiful Mind is the one that with the Russell Crowe.
That's right.
Okay, yeah, I avoid that.
You've seen that.
One of my favorite ones.
Okay. Say then you are the right person to explain in, let's say, 1 or 2 minutes how the analysis impacted, or how analysis is used in that movie, because this is really near and dear to us, right? We watch movie with full intensity and full engagement. So if you could please describe for everybody else. Anybody else seen Beautiful Mind?
I'm really sorry. I actually forgot that there was a situation like this which you are specifically asking. I remember the basic gist of the movie.
Yeah.
Basically, what was?
Let's start with that. Yes.
Oh, okay. So the movie is actually about somebody who apparently seems to be, who's an extremely intelligent person. He is one of the professors at basically Princeton University. He's actually a professor of statistics and mathematics, and he applies those techniques over economics and the situations and problems related to economics. So this guy it's actually a real story. It's inspired from a real story of an economist called John Nash. He was actually awarded later the Nobel Prize for his discovery in economics, which is called game theory. So, so he was a guy who was basically not judged by the rest of the people as a very normal person, and he had some supernormal things associated with him too, which was related to his mind. But then he kept busy in doing what he was focusing at, and then his extreme focus impacted on his personal life and the professional life, everything. But finally, he was able to develop the game theory, which was related to basically the behavior of the people, especially who are involved in some certain transactions or decision-making processes, which actually depends upon when somebody takes a decision, knowing or not knowing the fact that the other person is going to take the decision, or what is going to have, like in reference to, let's say I am and someone else, we both are. They call it like there's a thing called prisoner's dilemma as well, which is actually related to in this game theory reference. Like let's say I am caught by a police, and another guy was caught by the police, but now the police takes us both separately and starts asking questions. Now I can respond assuming that the other person has told the truth, and now I can respond assuming that the other person has not told the truth. So then there are possibilities of various situations when I can respond to, and then the application of basically and how I will choose, and then application of a statistics designed by that guy tells that how I'm more likely to choose whether what I will assume or what I will not. So this behavior of us all is very commonly used in all walks of life, in our day-to-day life, even in a big issues, big projects like sending the shuttle to Mars even. So it has a very huge application. So later this guy was realized with his services and was awarded Nobel Prize. Everybody, when they got to know, they actually accepted his intelligence as a scholar. And that's my understanding about the movies. Maybe I could explain a little bit.
No, it's very good, Doctor. Thanks for that. Sheetal, Swati, have you understood what Kumaran said?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so there are around 20 movie listing I have shared on chat. Have a look at that and try to understand or try to review the movie which you've seen earlier, so that you can understand the BA in actual life, or even in actual part as well, because we can relate quite easily.
One thing my impression is about, that's the role of BA is related to this prisoner's dilemma, is when a BA is involved in day-to-day life and he is the one who is trying to develop the use cases and develop the scenarios,
Right.
he's the one who actually has to trigger all the possibilities of the situations. So when he's doing interviews to the person who is on the other side from the business and who is
Right.
actually going to give you the information, he may not be able to describe us every single thing. But then here is our role, that we have
Right.
to raise our questions, keeping all the possibilities, all the probabilities in our mind. Okay, can it be the case? Can your customer cancel the account? May
Right.
he not cancel? If he leaves his house, move from this position to this, can he do this or not? Because the person who has to inform us the business rules, he may come up with all only high level scenarios and just very superfluous things. Then we have to deep down, and we can say, okay, if customers have to move from maybe Brampton to maybe Michigan, and in that case it's a change of the state, and in this, do you think this will work this way or not? So we have to make sure that we probe every single thing and consider all the possibilities.
Right. See, this is called requirement creep or requirement, skip. See, if you look at this slide now, we have really zeroed down to documentation and objective plan. So that's what I said. You need to have this slide if you are working as a BA on your desktop or on your table somewhere, so that you can refer to this. This basically limits overall scope creep. So we'll not go haywire in terms of requirement. We'll not go haywire in terms of our plan as well, because that's the what you can say monitoring and controlling of a BA in day-to-day life actually works. Believe me, I worked as a BA, so I'm clearly relate this slide to actual what you're trying to say, and it's really what you can say crux of the whole working, because there are certain times when we try to basically go off board or go literally on a different path as an possibility, and we try to explore that. So we need to really what you can say control ourselves in exaggerating the things into infinity. So that's also another responsibility of BA, which is kind of philosophical, right? Even in terms of PM role for that matters. If PM is too controlling, it also hurts the team because the efficiency degrades, right? We'll have a look at this in agile implementation of BA as well. So just to share the thoughts, you're really good analysis on these things. I mean, also to be included in this. That's why I've given that list of overall movies. So anybody else have or seen or want to share their experience? Shitul, Swati?
I haven't seen either of these movies.
There are around 20 movies, ma'am.
Me too.
Oh man, okay, no problem. So whenever you get time, have a look at it. These are basically movies. I should have got the Indian movie slide, I believe. But
if there were any from Indian movie, maybe we would have seen that. But it's
I
not
think
from Bollywood.
that could be a thing. No problem. But even take a any movie for that matters. Means there are decisions has to be made, right? Even in day to life, we need to understand or we need to build the analysis before implementing the decisions or before even planning the decision, right? That's how we basically think about requirement gathering. Like you have to basically make sure you have all the ingredients for making a tea. This is really good example of Gradisbuch making a tea. Whenever you wake up and you want a tea, so you think, do I have sugar, do I have tea powder, do I have milk, do I have water, or whatever cream, whatever you need. So you need to first think it through. What are the requirements, their approvals, their overall analysis, how I can do in the sequence. Do I need to boil the milk first and then pour into the cup or pour into the tea, or do I have to boil it separately and then unite them? So the process analysis also part of overall BA's day in day out, and we do it. We do it daily, not knowingly, because it was embedded in ourselves as an day-to-day life cycle. So whenever you had a look at these things, try to understand it from the business analysis perspective or analysis perspective. Business analysis is basically the analysis we do on the actually for the business, for helping the business. Normally we do analysis day in day out, right? So let's see.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So normally then we do analysis, how to report it. there are certain organizational policies, there are certain measures, or there are certain what you can say evolved practices came to analysis, and we will try to understand that one by one, and then also we'll go detail into the tools today, try to understand how the requirement has to be captured, monitored and planned, frankly speaking. Okay, so we're going to start tools also today. So let's talk about reporting. So analytical reporting is basically a business reporting. It can be a part of status reporting, it can be a part of information disseminations, that's how they call it in agile. Information to be shared with the stakeholder, which are basically dissemination talks about qualified sharing. So if the organizational policies wants me to share with these three people and whatever additional you perceive as an important, because and to get approval from them, or they need to be notified for these requirement qualification. These are the stakeholders which we are talking about in terms of information distribution. These are called qualified stakeholders, or stakeholder for which I need to share the report, analytical reporting, and that has to be built, because we can't share information to each and everybody in the organization. There are I need to build. Hold on, come on, let me complete. I'll request you ask. So there are information dissemination practice in agile. We'll discuss that also whenever we read agile. Information has to be shared with the required people only, right? Because if you share the information with people who are not required by original policy, or they can basically interfere in overall requirement, and then also the scope can be go haywire. For this, agile practice clearly mentions that information has, or the even project management body of the also required you use information or disseminate or share the information in a qualified way, right? And then we need to really understand the impact of this reporting. Whatever you share, if there are persons, if I give information and he or she starts basically creating obstacles for me, then next time I'll not share the information. I might report to some senior persons ki this is how it happens, that's why my history, and I'll start reporting to this thing, and make your case in front of them, and let the organizational leaders decide where to share the information, how to share the information, why not to share the information, and so on and so forth. So this is also part of overall BA's responsibility, to understand and share the responsibility with the qualified members only. And then the response of your critical thinking, analytical skill, and how to create recommendation from the data source as well. Because to whom, see, you do some interviewing techniques, you do some survey techniques, but we need to really understand wherever we get the information, is it really relevant for my cause, or they are just giving to you because they felt like. There are things, right, whatever I want and whatever comes to me. There are things which comes to me by way of my working, by way of my sharing information as well, and there are things which are required for the project. So as a BA, I should be crystal clear on what type of requirement I need to take, or I need to give a heed to, so that I can include that thing in my analysis. I can include that thing for the given project, or for the given reason of service, support, whatever I'm doing the analytical reporting to. So these are really crucial point in a typical BA, and this basically gets improved over experience. So I have just kept it here to understand, like there's something like a dissemination or controlled distribution of reporting, controlled distribution of whatever analysis you've done from a given resources for so that is basically part and parcel of BA's responsibility. So that's why I put this thing over here. Yes, Kuan, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, how do I know that what has to be my distribution date exactly? Who I have to include? Where is the source of this information? Is the project manager, or is it the project document?
Yeah, the way this works normally, the even BA book clearly mentioned whoever stakeholders you are reporting to, or who came to you with the requirement, is the right person to ask that list. So if CIO comes to you, you can ask him. So who are the stakeholders you want me to report this analysis to? and then he is responsible for whatever plus and minus. In the given time, in the due course of
Okay.
BA's working, he might say ki, there's a guy named Albert. Whenever I send him a mail, he basically try to obstruct the process with n number of different questions. These type
Okay.
of people are there in the given organization. So you need to really start evolving as a BA. That's the kind of expected outcome for you. But there are some organizational strict policy which you'll come to know whenever you join an organization. The HR's responsibility is basically to share those policies with you. And as a BA is really critical role because you do report on organizational policy also. So that's why HR clearly understands the BA's roles and responsibility, and that's why they are hire you, right? So from that way, HR is the last person, but the first person should be whoever you are reporting to or whoever basically giving you the list to disseminate this or distribute this information. Okay.
Okay. Wonderful.
Anybody else has any question?
Yeah, I have a question. What about suppose if I like person like me who is never worked before?
Could you speak a bit louder?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, audible. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So what about suppose a person like me who has never worked before, and I have been given some requirements by the stakeholders,
Right.
and I'm not. I didn't strike up with certain questions which I was supposed to be asking. So how would I manage that? So do I again and again keep contacting the stakeholders, or is there a certain way that we do it?
Great. Exactly.
Or
Great
is there
question.
yeah,
Great question. See, normally if a CIO comes to you saying, I want to build an HR system, let's take for a raw example, right? So you can't go to CIO because busy person, he might be traveling all over the world and blah 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 blah. So whenever you go for a meeting, you can ask him like, if I have any doubts on the requirements or the phrasing, because this thing happens because nowadays we work globally. So the CIO saying an English, he can be Spanish, he can be from British, he can be from any cultural background. So there could be some differences of meaning in terms of the way the requirements are worded, right? So you can just politely ask him, see if I have any confusion, if I have any doubts on the requirement detailing phase or elicitation of requirement. Elicitation is the right word. Elicitation of requirement or qualification of requirement. Whom should I go to? Because as an senior person, I know you are busy, so please guide me. Whom should I go to? And he'll be very clear and crisp understanding that this is normal process, right? This is what you do. So you have to request him who is the next person whom I can go to, and he'll guide you couple of persons, believe me. Because normally, as we said, the important and one of the most important tool BA has in its pocket is interviewing. So talking is a part of your role, meeting is a part of your role, right? So that's the I think right approach. And I believe whenever you start working, it's a kind of experience or organizational policy also, which will help you to basically, talk to certain person, build a rapport with certain person, so that your, job gets easier day by day. It's a part of evolving. So don't worry too much. But yes, you can ask the person who is giving you the requirement to politely, whom should I go? If it's something like project management, then you will have daily scrum meeting or at least 2 or 3 scrum meeting within a week. So you can really ask him at that time, so that you can get your requirements clarified or requirement confusion averted, those kind of scenario, right? Does that answer your question?
yeah.
Okay, great. I have I had another question as well.
Can I ask the question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So let's say during the requirement gathering phase, business analyst misses some requirement or some requirement is not gathered properly, and then during even that was not identified during the approval phases, people approved it, right? So let's say it's the development phase or something like that, and then it is realized that something is missing or something is not proper. what is the right way to approach this situation?
This is $1 million question, dear. This is how the BA diplomatically works. This is a diplomacy of BA, right? So that's why we normally start documenting each and everything from start. So if you have everything documented and you have created the auditory fact, you can go to your stakeholder, even if be CIO or VPHR or whoever it may be, with the auditory fact. These are what requirement given to me. This is what the approval, and these are the limited. Now this requirement doesn't fit any of in these groups. So please guide me. Should we add it as an additional project? Should we add it over and above for the resource approval or whatever approvals need? And then should I send it to the PM so that he can take care of the additionals? And then he can plan the attrition and the development. That's the right way. That's the diplomatic way. I believe you worked as a BA, so you will know it. But for Sheetal and for Swati, this is a bit critical. This is how the BA life builds makes and breaks kind of scenario. There are certain requirements which are basically what you can say in the line in a typical English. So whenever such thing comes, if you have your documentation crisp and clear, we'll have a look at in workshop as well. If there are unclear requirements, you can get it detailed. So at the time of detailing, you try to understand different bits and pieces. You try to build the plan accordingly. But at the time of approval, if the other person says these requirements has to go to the next iteration, or this requirement has to be moved to the lower priority, then yes, that's their call. Your role is basically detail the requirement as much as possible, detail the overall what you can say qualified requirements, and get it approved first, so that you are really crystal clear in our auditory documentary proofs. So whenever you have that with you, there's no problem. But if you really what you can say messed up, or if you really disturb in your approval process, or you don't have any documentation thing, then the ball can be on your neck, saying okay, how this is missed, and those kind of scenarios. So we really need to important on these auditory facts as well. We'll see that in a workshop how it's really critical for a typical day in a BA's life. So don't worry on that part. This was really a question for lateral training phase, but I have answered it just to share the criticalness of requirement and the auditory proof as well. Right? Does that answer your question, Kaman?
Thank you so much.
No problem. Sheetal, Swati, if you're confused, just hold on. We'll do a workshop so you know how these things are implemented, right? But if you have any questions, please tell me. No problem.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, so no confusion till that time, right? Let's move on. So we understood this. Now we come to tools. This is the most fun part. Now we are actually learning how to be a BA, how to gather requirements, how to report them, how to qualify them, and so on and so forth, right? So there are quite a few tools we are going to learn here. Some in very detail, some in a bit of what you can say with a time limitation and all. This is what the overall BA's duty. So we are going to learn flowcharts, activity diagrams. Then we'll try to understand how the BA uses Excel. We have around 15-16 odd formulas which I'm going to train you. So if you go to an organization who is not very IT enabled, but you can really have Excel with you, or you can really have LibreOffice worksheet. That's what they call. It's a free tool, LibreOffice. It works on Linux, Windows, and all other flavor of OS, even Raspberry and Arindo also. These are the small microcomputers. So don't worry on that.
What is the name? LibreOffice?
LibreOffice.
LIBRE, right?
Yeah, LibreOffice. It's an open systems. It's also available in Cheat. So let's not jump the wagon. Okay. So so what I want to really enable you with the lowest possible denominator, so that you can go and start working with the tool. So don't worry on that part. Then we have mind maps, we have product roadmaps. We have to understand the SWOT analysis, fishbone diagram, process diagrams. Then we have workflow diagram, pestle analysis, ER diagram, visual modeling. We'll discuss in details so that we can understand, or at least list down the latest tools available. And then WBS, this is used for estimation as well. So this will actually help you to actually build the schedule and basically help PM or working with PM much easier, because work breakdown structure is the easiest estimation methodology used from last 60-70 odd years. Then of course SQL. SQL basically I'll try to limit around 30-40 odd commands so that you can build the reporting as easily as possible. This is the overall technical pie of the whole training, the SQL commands and those things, right? So just to get acquainted, let's start with Sheetal. How many tools have you used or have you known?
Tools in the sense,
These
actually,
I mean, how many are there? Like 3 and 3 is 8 here, and 3 and 3 6 here. So these 14 tools, how many do you know? How many you heard of? You
I've
must be
heard
heard of
about
it,
the
Excel, right?
flowchart. I've heard about SQL. I have actually tried, but I never worked on SQL programming. But I had basically took some hands-on SQL basic learnings and
Great.
Excel sheets.
Have you worked on flowchart?
Yeah, I did,
Okay,
but
great.
long time ago.
No, that's okay. No, that's okay. Okay. Anything else you worked on or no?
No, I did. Basically, I learned clinical SAS some time ago. So at that time, I was doing some programming kind of thing. So in which we practiced some SQL language, but program is not my thing. That's why I gave up.
No, that's okay. We can understand that. Okay.
Huh.
Let's go
That's it.
to Swati. Swati, could you please, tell me like what are the tools have you used before or no?
I know some of these tools is flowcharts, mind map, SWOT analysis, but I never worked on it.
That's okay. That's okay. No, no problem. Have you worked on SQL?
No.
Okay, no problem. What about Kamaran?
I actually have heard. I actually have basically heard of them all, and I have basically got a bit of introduction with perhaps every one of them.
Wow.
Of course, some of them basically seem to be like, let's say, business analytics with Excel. So this is something I actually tried some time back, but it's not in my mind right now. But I tried sometime the SQL and all that. Analytics, even for business analytics, I actually did some other tools also for which are used basically in reporting, like Tableau and Power BI kind of things. It's been quite long time. I'm actually off the hook for quite long time, honestly speaking. Yeah, but I have heard of them all. I have some familiarity with almost every one of them.
Okay, great, no problem. Okay, we need to really stop ourselves whenever you're using tools, not to go to the business intelligence way. This is normally a typical, BA's dream to be a business intelligence, developer, programmer, or architect. And this is how the progression also occurs. And whenever you do training, I'm a BI certified, trainer. So I also tend to go to the business intelligence type of way. So I try to restrict myself because when you're talking about business intelligence, is the kind of next, level of older reporting. So you tend to build. That's why I haven't put trend analysis and those kind of scenario here.
Can I see the other slide also, please?
Yeah, sure. No
For the
problem.
tools? Yeah.
So I have not included trend analysis here. We can, but trend analysis basically analyzing it. The trend means study the history, try to build the future on the right. So those kind of scenario. But then you're going to basically the business intelligence way. We might have a good couple of slides on business intelligence if you have time. But let's see. I'll keep it that at the end, right? So I might get what I can say over the board with that. Just stop me that. Okay, now flowchart. This is really simple tool. We normally try to break the activity. These are for singular executions. We detail it and we try to understand so that the activity is broken down to the nth level part, right? And we try to evaluate the process. Here, the process evaluation is really important. Here, we are looking at a patient admission process for a given typical hospital, right? Right? Everybody can see this thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and it's readable, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. So whenever a patient arrives, right? See, these are the notation, fairly simple enough. The circle is circle or oval shape is basically start and end. The square or rectangle is basically overall wherever the event is happening, and the diamond shape is basically the decision node. That's how you call it. And then there are arrows which basically show the progress. Fair enough, right? Any confusion in this symbols?
No.
Okay, great. So let's try to understand what this process trying to tell us as an analyst, right? So we start. The patient arrives in a hospital. You can visualize any hospital where you might have visited recently, right? So you go there. The patients get to the reception. He tried to ask like, I have a severe headache. So the reception tells, okay. So he or she, or the reception is normally she, so she basically guides the patients to get registered. So that's the first process. If it's prior registered previously, then you can just go ahead and assign it to the doctor or nurse, whatever available there, right? Otherwise, you need to register and then again forward that registration to the nurse and the doctor available to the reception. That's the reception's job, right? And then record the health conditions. This has to be done by the doctor or nurse. Now there are issues or disadvantages of flowchart. This doesn't depict the responsibility. That's the first disadvantage. This does give you decision notes. This does give you the process notes, but it doesn't show you the actual responsibility part of it, right? So this is a quite old tool which we use. I think every engineering college in the world have a flowcharting type of study in the overall curriculum. And this is really good, evolved over time, but still there are certain lacks and lacunas or certain disadvantages. So we need to understand those as well. So whenever you're doing flow charting, the responsibility has to be written by the document somewhere. Like this is a responsibility of nurse or doctor. This is a responsibility of reception. This is the responsibility of doctor. This is the responsibility of patients or not, and those things. Okay. So then comes the process. Whenever we record the health conditions, then the available doctor, if the available nurse have recorded the health condition, then the doctor will go and try to necessarily give the necessary meditation to him, and then basically he'll also suggest like he or she needs to come back to him or her within 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and then arrange the appointment as well with the receptions, and the process continues. So there are some repetitions and certain what I can say qualitative checks, calls, and all those things as well, right? So everybody understood this process?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is fairly simple, right?
Yeah.
Now we'll understand in detail whenever we go ahead, right? Now we go to a what you can say evolved diagram. That's what they call of flowchart. This is just a flowchart with some additional additional features to reduce the drawbacks to a considerable level, right? So what is activity diagram? As the name indicates, it depicts the activity, it depicts the process, it depicts the overall execution of a given events, right? So that's what the activity is. So sequence of one activity to another is a kind of progressive activity diagram, right? We can which are normally described in parallel, which are normally described in a sequential way, branched way, and concurrent flow. So this basically depicts, even flowcharts have branch flow or a parallel or a concurrent flow of the system as well, right? So activity diagram basically try to give a much detail or a crisper view than flowcharts. Let's try to understand the activity diagram is basically, let's try to understand an activity diagram of order of a customer or receipt of order and confirm of order and dispatch of order. This is a simple order management system we normally discussed quite a few times. After receiving the order request, the conditions checks are performed to the to the normal or special order, and then have this order pushed to different stakeholder as per the need, and then terminate the overall activity, right? Let's have a look at this chart. Now this is a typical order management system. Here event start is basically circular solid symbol, start of the process. Then customer send an order request, right? then the customer order system confers receipt of an order to the customer. Okay, and then there's a decision box. As we said, diamond is a decision box. Check the order is normal or special. We normally have this condition, and so the order is directed to different workflows, right? So we have order is special, yes, no, termination. If the order is normal, then confirm the order and dispatch the order, and the order goes ahead, right? It's a simple start of the order management system kind of scenario. It doesn't cover all the angle, but yes, we are just trying to build single swim lane. Single swim lane is single execution, right? Swim lane, these are basically the notations used in UML normally. We'll have a look at each and every notation in detail afterwards, and you'll have a documentation of a UML. I'm a big fan of UML, Unified Modeling Language, and this is the diagram where we start normally the process of documentation the exact execution of activity, right?
Will we cover UML?
No, we are not covering UML. We'll try to read activity diagram, and I think part of sequence diagram to understand how the overall documentation of activity or documentation of execution is done for approval process. Because certain organization nowadays, if you go to a software firm or if you go to brokerage firm, these guys use UML internally, and that's a normal discipline in industry right now. So that's how I kept the UML to bare minimum, because UML itself is a really good art, good scientific way to basically gather requirements, understand requirement, add to. So that's a part and parcel of whole BA activity. You should know at least the basics, so you can learn. There are quite a few good amount of trainings available. Even I had a training plan for UML. Let's see how the overall approval and all those process goes through Gurukul, so that we can have a capsule for UML as well. Right? Go ahead, please.
Because I actually see many of the basically jobs where they expect business analysts to know UML.
Right.
I have understanding with UML, and also the entity relationship diagram specifically for the data modeling perspective. So these two things I have seen them many of the BA jobs, because BA jobs, other than gathering the functional requirements, is getting very much mixed up with the BSA's job, like the system analyst job, right? So they
we've seen the overlaps, right? There are overlaps. So, but you can't say this is not my job whenever you work, right?
Yeah.
So you have to know the UML, and I'll teach you enough UML to be a BA. So don't worry on
that. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I was just concerned about something like the UML, ER, because these are the things my really weak areas, and I've seen then if we don't know while you are at work with these things, you feel like very much depending on the technical folks, and like in many of the meetings you feel like dumb. So so they're important things. So thank you so much for adding them up.
No problem. And I would love to teach you UML through Visio, so that you don't have to use costly tools as well. Or you can start doing with a paper and pen as well, and you can just take a photo and share with your approval process. That's also normally done. So don't worry on that. I'll enable the enable you to actually use the most common tools. Believe me.
Thank you so much.
Sheetal, did you understand what explained in these diagrams?
Yeah.
So I have one argument.
Just hold on. Let me check out others' doubt as well, and I'll continue. Just give me a minute, please. Sure. So Sheetal, have you understood the process overall? What is depicted there?
Yes, some part of it I'm able to understand. Little bit of confusions are there, but that's like as you go on, maybe they might clear up.
I can understand that, and don't worry, we have quite a good amount of exercise here planned, and we'll get it really rectified. Don't worry. Swati, how about you?
Yeah, I'm good. I don't have.
No problem. Have you used UML before?
I have learned some things in this, so I can draw this. Yeah.
No problem. Great. Sure. So I take it as you understood this. Okay. Now, what we do as in BA, right? So we do modeling workflows by using activities. We model these workflows. So let's say for a matter like making a tea, right? So I can model the workflows by using activities in activity diagram. Modeling business requirement like the order management we see, we normally model them we build a high level understanding of system functionality. Now I'm going one by one level deeper in a BA's role and the use of UML here, right? So we are trying to understand high level system functionality. So each and every functional execution is my activity. Does that understood by everybody? Each and every functionality is basically a singular execution of activities or parallel execution of activities, and I can depict in activity diagrams. Investigating business requirement at a later stage is also possible due to activity diagram, because whenever I build activity diagrams, I can clearly see a single execution of activities or concurrent execution of activities or a branched execution of activities, right? I can't guide on scope, limitation, or users system boundaries. That's so true. So these are the disadvantages, and these also basically evolved from the flowchart itself. But still, I'll try to include these things in activity diagram. If activity diagram is my organizational policy, and I'll tell you how. Okay. Now let's go ahead. I believe you understand these 5 points. Any confusion?
No, that's fine. Modeling business.
Okay, great. Yeah, let's go ahead then. Perfect. Thanks. Now, there's something called use case diagram, right? There's activity. This is also, UML notification. So, what we see as an disadvantages of scope limitations, number of user and boundaries. These disadvantages are all addressed by use case diagrams. Use case diagram is basically who is doing what and to what in simple philosophical terms. It describes a sequence of actions performed by a system or an actor, that provides a value to an actor. The use case describes the system's behavior under various conditions as it responds to a request from one of the stakeholders, called primary actor, to the secondary actor or to another actor. Okay, this is a simple, order food use case, which are depicted here. A customer search for item, place order, obtain help, or overall, the taxes are a different use case altogether. So we are talking about these 3 use cases here: search item, a customers come to a system, and search for items within the system. These boxes are basically the overall, what you can say, overall the system limitation or system boundaries. That's how they labeled. So whatever I do within the systems are within this box, and then there is another system, there's another system. That's why we mentioned these 4 use cases separately. These 2 fall in one box. So these guys are talking about the system boundaries. These guys are talking about who is doing what and to what. So whenever you place order, there is a payment processing system which takes the control and makes sure this customer pays to that payment, and then it gives acknowledgement to this system to place the order to him, whatever has to ask to be delivered to him. So this is a simple use case which is trying to address all the disadvantages of what you can say activity diagram. So if you have an activity diagram with a use case, that can give you almost 95 to 99% of total systems definitions or total requirement definition, not system definition, total requirement definition. I just made this statement right now I'll let you sink in. It's not that we understand both the things right now. So it's basically the learning which we're going to do in the next couple of days to make sure the activity diagram as well as use case diagram does solve the overall nitty-gritties of all the requirements. And then I can put these 2 documents before approval and say, boss, approve this, so that I know the requirement details, and if there are any lags, let me know. I'll modify the diagrams accordingly. Okay, have you understood what I'm trying to prove here?
Yeah. Can I just ask one thing?
Go ahead.
So I noticed, like, we had initially we had like process flow diagram, right? The
Right.
process flow diagram was basically letting us know what were the actions, where to start and where it was ending. Then we had activity diagram. The activity diagram was very, very similar to process flow diagram, So
Right.
what was the difference between these two? That looks similar. I see activity diagram. My impression with
And I'll tell you,
activity
I'll tell you,
diagram.
activity diagrams and use case diagrams are technology independent, platform independent. Process diagram normally use the technology or the platform. And we try to segregate the rules of a BA or the designers. So that's why we separated it out.
Okay, so I see use case diagram actually is showing me who are the actors and
Right.
how are they interacting with the systems. This
That's
is
right.
something that is not available in process flow diagram and the activity diagram, right?
Right.
The
Right.
activity diagram doesn't show who is the actor and who is he interacting to. But
Right.
activity diagram, in what way it is different from process flow diagram?
I'll not go there right now because they need to do really good PhD in UML. Believe me, means unless and until UML from philosophical time because process diagrams are not included in standard UML. Even software like Rational Unified Processes Diagramming or IBM Unified Processes Diagramming, because what they say, the way BA roles have been evolved, these guys are technology independent.
Okay.
So that's why when have you looked at the introductory sessions? Basically, Devji clearly told or clearly mentioned these things specifically, and I had requested you basically so that BA role has the least technology part, implementation part. Well, you should know the SQL because it can come to you, but it's not required. Means even if you don't know SQL, you can still work as a BA. Or you can learn pretty much 10-15 commands of SQL and get done with it. That's the thing. But
no, my confusion was what is the difference between the process flow diagram and activity diagram? They are same.
we'll take this question offline because it's going out of the scope of the training. Okay, sure. You can email me and I'll email you back, or you can WhatsApp me and I can WhatsApp you back.
Okay.
Sure.
Sorry about that.
No. Pardon me for this because if you really, this is really big question, right? And this can take another 10 minutes or so. So I want to restrict this thing because I don't want to really hamper the overall progress. Okay.
Sure.
And come to
So just a reminder. Yeah. So just a reminder. You said that you would be creating a group for this training people.
It's there. You can message I'll read the group name for you. What's that? Training BAQ training. There's a group for us. There are others.
Yeah, there are too many other people. Yeah.
The main
Okay, that's the group only. Okay.
You can just ask any question there, and I will be like to answer you. Okay, sure. Shitu, have you understand the use case diagram?
Yes.
Okay, I can understand you haven't gone in depth, but we'll go basically one step at a time. Swati, do you understand the diagram? Swati?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, no problem. Yes, Kamaran, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's good. I understood.
Okay,
Totally fine.
Sure. So this is a really good thing, and we'll learn this in depth in the next slide. I believe I have a small workshop also. Okay, now this is a bit detail of overall how a person goes to a typical hotel and actually do the overall what you can say for ordering food scenario. So we have a waiter who basically going to receive order from a client. So receive order food from a client, waiter extend the order, let's say it's a wine or whatever it may be, to the chef cook the food and deliver it to the waiter, and waiter deliver it back to the client, right? So waiter serve food, then we made this different food different use case altogether. So we have order food, serve food, eat food, and pay for the food. These are 4 different use cases or executions or activity we are talking about, done by 3 different actors, and there is a supporting actor called chef as well. Okay, and when you look at the boundary, the system boundary, right, there's a rectangular box in between. I don't know why these lines are there. Yeah, this is the system boundary we are talking about. Could you see my cursor? This box is my system boundary. It's written there. Everybody can see this, box.
Yeah.
because this is important, right? And let's not worry about the extend and was serve. These are basically the states they've included. They normally tend to include, but we can skip this as of right now. We'll have these things whenever we have workshops, so you'll understand how this works. But let's not worry about this right now. This extend basically Servine is basically a simple use case, or what the piece of code I written earlier, and extend means it's a similar process. So I just replicate this process to the system and got executed, right? So that's what that extend means. So it's kind of replicated use for the particular actor. This is what you say object of a class, if you know programming. But let's not worry there. It's a basically technical implementation. But yes, you don't have to write it every time. But at least you should understand the use case and the actors, right? So I'll go to okay. Now let's try to do a bit of homework, and I would really want you to do religiously, right? I want to do it with spend at least it'll take an hour or so, not more than that. Try to build an activity diagram, try to build a use case diagram, and even try to write down the steps of workflow. So first try to break down the activity in terms of workflows, then build overall activity diagram, and then build a use case diagram. Try to do that, right? I'll try to paste this thing in a group so that can I copy this? I don't want slide. Okay, I can copy. Can I paste it in the chat? Let me try out that thing. No, okay. Let me send these 3 images via WhatsApp so that you can have this thing for your reference. 1, 2, 3, 4 for this homework. Okay. So we want to build activity diagram, use case diagram. That's what I want as an output from you. So a process starts with whenever customer places an order, cashier enters the beverage order into the system. The customer. This is very, very similar to here, but use your own imagination and try to build this use case. Whenever it hardly takes an hour time, but then I'll get to know how much you learn, how much you got whatever I'm teaching you. This is really important for all of us to understand the process, the activities, and the use cases. If you understand these 3 things, then you can be a BA. Frankly speaking, believe me, means we have the basic instinct with you necessarily, so that you can build a BA. You can really start working. If you can really design these 3 things, there's an activity diagram, there's a use case diagram, and a workflows embedded in that, which is included in these 2 diagrams. Okay, so I'll have these pasted in chat box as well, so that you can utilize this as an homework. Please see this thing in chat. Kumaran? Kamaran?
I'm just trying to see.
Okay.
I think, I think it should be there. I'm actually logging from somewhere, so
I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, it should be fine. I have not seen it, but it should be fine somewhere. I'll find it.
I'll put it in WhatsApp group as well. Don't worry. Okay. So this is a kind of homework for tomorrow. We have a class tomorrow, same time. Okay.
Oh, I see messages in here. You see question useful, how draw the process of constructing an activity diagram.
Perfect.
And to demonstrate the use of the different notation elements. Okay. Yeah, it's there.
Is there, right? Okay, great. It's not completely came here. The cashier asked for the order. Let me cashier and customer please. I'll copy this. I think there's a limitation of number of words.
So these are the general things, or you are asking us to do it generally or specifically to a certain scenario?
These are basically kind of understanding of the overall tools, because now you understood the BA process, you understood what BA needs to do, what's BA needs to build in terms of auditory proof for a requirement, right? So these two things you need to create on your own, activity diagram and a use case diagram, which should include all the requirements given in the chat box. I'll share this on WhatsApp as well. Okay, just to make sure you understand the BA process, the basic BA instinct, what's required to be a BA, and then we go building on this. Because now these are the, I think, simplest tools which you use. Then you're going to learn different tools or difficult tools step forward. Okay, Sheetal, did you got the do you understand? You can do you understand the problem of the homework you mentioned here?
I'll try my best first.
Yeah, sure. See, there is no right or wrong. We are learning new things, right? Only I need to understand whatever we discussed. You understand, and up to what level,
Yes.
so that we can add it, we can clarify it in detail, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's why we are doing it, and that's why the homework part of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Got it.
What about you, Swati?
Yeah, I will also try. Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's discuss this thing tomorrow. Okay. Do you want me to continue further, or should we stop here? What do you say? Because I know it's a weekend. You might have plans, so tell me.
Yeah, it's 10:30 for me. Tomorrow is a working day again,
Sorry.
so I have to wake up early.
So we should stop here.
Yeah.
Okay. Swati, what about you?
I'm okay with anything.
Okay, sure. So you understood the problem, right? So let's try to build this thing. It will hardly take an hour, max. It might, be, completed within 20 minutes if you clearly understood. But I can, understand if it takes a bit longer. But I want to put in efforts so that we know we did right. We did right, and we are going to do it right. That's why I want, to stop, wait, and learn. And we are together. So there's no wrong or right. I want to just put in effort so that I know what you know, right? Looks like Hindi movie dialogue, but that's okay. Okay.
Okay.
Kamaran, do you have any questions?
Now I'm fine. I'll see if there are any questions. I can post it on a group.
Sure.
But I just wanted to make sure that.
Let's build this thing, and you can share with YouTube. You can share on WhatsApp group. You can just click a photo and share it on WhatsApp group. Okay.
Okay.
Whenever you're done, so that we can discuss this in next class. So we'll spend around 10 minutes in discussing the shortcomings, or I'll include this thing in presentation, and I'll post this requirement on WhatsApp group as well. Send me. Devji have already released sessions on YouTube, so you can have a look at them as well. So there's everything included in the session. So it's basically a recording of a session. Even Devji will release this thing, might be in a day or two, so you can have a look at that session as well. But rather than, I'll paste these things to WhatsApp group as well right away, means within next 15 minutes. Okay, so you can work on that. Any other question?
That's fine.
Go ahead, please, Kamaran.
No, I was saying that that's okay.
Okay, great. And next time, could we please be on time, because today we almost lost around 12 odd minutes. So it's my humble request to be on time so that we can finish on time, because I know everybody has engagement afterwards. So if you could please be on time, that will be really great. Okay.
That's definitely.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.